user-friendly. In this video, we're going to completely break this patch down piece by piece. So we'll create a section of it, pull the patch, create another section of it, pull the patch, and then remake the entire thing. After that, we'll take a look at how to recreate it in VCV-Rack. The first thing we're going to do is create a VariSpeed player. Now, I want to put a sample in here with 120 slices, and then on the NerdSec, control which slice with, whatever particular note I'm choosing. So D would be a particular sample, D4, F, all of those would be samples. On the NerdSec, there's 10 octaves, C0 being the lowest note, and CA being the highest. So we need a sample with 120 slices. So this is what one of those samples would look like. It's 120 slices, but it's all one sample. The key is that they're all evenly spaced. So this would be one octave on the NerdSec. That way I know that this particular octave is all going to be this guy. Me. Octave. Alright. You can do all sorts of interesting things with this. Suppose, this octave was all kick drums, this octave was all snares, this octave was all hats, and all the rest of this was dogs barking or something like that. You can mix it up. Doesn't all necessarily. The chromatic stuff here that I'm using is, for demonstration, just to make it a little bit more simple once we start looking at the 301. Also, I assume I should probably show you what one of my more glitchy sample chains would sound like and what it would be made up of. You can see here, this would be the B note on the NerdSec. I know that in every octave, I have an empty space where it'll just be complete silence. So these are two different samples. You can see they're pretty long. So suppose I only wanted to play this, I would hit, this would be C. I would play this part and then play this B note because it's silence. And it's nice because I actually didn't mean to do this, but there's a little bit of a transient at the end of a lot of these that'll just kind of smooth out that, sort of empty space. Sometimes it can result in a click, but no big deal. So yeah. Okay, so we have our sample prepped. Let's load it. Alright, the next thing, well, I already have this. Let me clear slices, yes. Alright, so this is how it would look when we load it up. Menu, slice to division, and go up to 120. This is why the even space between the samples is important. You could get a lot more into the ER301 by, really squeezing every sample together, but then you would have to go in and manually put 120 slice markers, which that just seems crazy. Alright, so now we have our slices. Now we need to be able to select the slice. So let's start adding some CV. Okay, so now we have our CV in. We'll go to slice, and I have the CV out on the NerdSec connected to A2, so we'll select A2, and then gain. Then there's one more important thing you have to remember to do, which is The play duration we'll set on once, play extent, slice, symmetric, and 12/10. So now, you can see that the little bar just moved. For the gate, we're going to select 1. That's where I have it connected. You also need to add a micro delay. This little button down here, fine, of course. 5 milliseconds. Alright. So now, we should be good to go. Okay, I just have these patch cables connected to the HPO. Dun, 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 dun. Oh no, I missed a note. Oh wow. Alright, so that's that. Now I want to have 4 of these samplers, and I want to be able to send each one to either Mimeophone or Herbverb. So to do that, we're going to use the global chains. So hold shift and scroll, cut, global chains, this little switch here, new stereo chain, we'll call it track 1, enter, go into that chain, and paste. Everything that we did before is still there. The sample is still there, the CV is still there, the gate delay, it's all there. Now before we move any further, let's make sure that we can just still hear what we have. So we'll go up to here, insert, stereo mix, go into stereo mix, and global, left, global, right. So now we should still be able to hear it. Now I want to send 2 mono mixes of these samplers to Mimeophone and Herbverb. So we're going to use these 2 outputs here. So we'll go here, insert, mix, and then I'll put 2 more mixers inside of that mixer because it's receiving a stereo sound. So I want to make sure that they're both in there, and then they'll just get mixed down to mono. Alright. Okay, so we can see on that bar, it's going to the output. So now we'll patch walk. Alright, I have channel 3 of the ER301 patched to the input of Herbverb. And then I have the Herbverb outputs patched to in 1 and 2 on channel 1 and 2. So the next thing we'll have to do is add another mixer on 1 and 2. We'll take inputs 1 and 2. And then I'll come back down here to my output, and I'm going to turn that down. Let's just see what that sounds like. Yeah. Alright, so we're getting sound to the Herbverb, we're getting sound back from the Herbverb, Now we want to be able to not send it to the herb verb. So we'll go in here and insert a VCA. I have the mod out of channel 1 on NerdSec patched into B2 on the 301. Alright. No herb verb. Herb verb. Feel like I can't hear it that well. There we go. Okay, we can send our sample to herb verb. Now we want to send it to mimeophone. So we'll copy this, go down to 4, and paste. We'll leave everything the same except inside the VCA, we're going to put a rectify, and we are going to do the negative half, and then a full rectify. The next thing is these two switches down here. To the right, it's 0 to 10, and to the left, meaning the switch is pointed to the left, it's going to be negative 5 volts to plus 5 volts. So now, if we send this VCA a negative voltage, it'll open channel 4. If we send it a positive voltage, it'll open the reverb. So let's patch that up. So we're going to come out of channel 4 into mimeophone, and then send mimeophone back in to 3 and 4. So now, the last thing we need to do is go up to channel 1 and 2. We are going to copy the herb verb mixer, paste, and then just change in 1 and 2 to 3 and 4. So now we have 2 mixers, 3 total. If you include one for a sample, this is our sample, the first one. This is for herb verb, and this last one is for mimeophone. So now, let's see if this works. No effect. Herb verb. Mimeophone. Mimeophone. Alright. That's enough of that. Okay. We're starting to get somewhere. So I'm going to pull this patch now, and we're going to move on to the assimilator. Alright, so here we are at the assimilator. This is a fairly complex module, so I'm just going to go over the key points as it pertains to my patch. We'll start with the mix. So for this kit, we have a, kick, snare, clap, hat, ride, tom, and tom. These are all different sounds from the electron analog rhythm. Anyway, if we go to the mix, you can see the kick I have panned to the left. Everything else is panned to the right. That way, I can get this entire kit up to the ER301 using the left and right output. The reason I'm I have the kick separate by itself is just in case I want to do some sidechain compression or something like that on the ER301. But also, this way, if I decide I want to send the toms to the same place as the kick, all it would be is just, turning this pan. You could add some CV control over this if you wanted. I just don't really need it. So, anyway, that's the first thing. The next thing is the pitch. So, all of these voices, the snare, all the way down to the tom, they share the same CV for the pitch. This one right here, we 1B. The kick has its own. The reason for this is just so, if I wanted to, this entire kit is playing, I could pitch the entire thing down or up. If you include the kick in that, it can just get kind of pokey if you go, higher in pitch, and then if you go lower in pitch, it'll get muddy. So, I only include, pitching around the kick when I really want to. And it is useful to do because you can use it like a tom or something if you pitch it up a little bit. Anyway, that's the first two CV inputs on a simulator. The last part is the zones. So each one of these voices, this is 8 kicks, 8 snares, 8 claps, and I just have these balanced over, a major scale. So on the nerd sec, C would be, the first kick, then D would be the next kick, so on and so forth. This can be really interesting when you add some CV to control the pitch while changing the different zones, things like that. You can get interesting drum rolls and things like this. If you wanted to, you could, moving back down here to the mix, you could do 2 sub-mixes and then send the kick out of its own output. You would just come down here to the mix output and turn that off. I don't really need to do that, but I just thought I would mention it. So, now, let's get the assimilator into the ER301. Alright, so we have the assimilator patch to A1 and B1. Now, we just need a mixer. Insert, and mono mix. Then inside of that mono mix, 2 more mono mix. 1 and 2. Alright, now go in here, and we need A1 and B1. Alright, let's see if we have sound now. Alright, we have sound. Now, we just need CV control. So we have triggers 1 through 8 patched to the assimilator, 1 through 8, and then CV 15, 8, and 16 to A1, B1, and C1. Now we need to go on to the nerd sec and set up the expanders. Alright, so here we are on the nerd sec. Let's set up the expanders. So we'll go in here and go to track assign, and I'm going to use 7 and 8. These are the audio outputs. You can, or sample outputs, you can actually assign them now, which is really nice. So anyway, track 8 will be the trigger 16, and this will be CV set. And now, we go in here, track setup. I have them set up so 8, 16, and 15. So let's see if this works.
50% power then.
Calling section 69 for site channel number 84, please.
Thunder active on 3.
We're on 10% test power.
So now we'll go in here and make some adjustments. kick, snare, and, well, everything else, and then the kit. So I have this set on major, remember the zones, so the switch on the expander is 0 to 10. So, back here up on the 301, I've set up the same thing that we had for the samplers. Just instead, so on the samplers over here, we have the, two mixes for the stereo and the VCA and all, and they're coming from the global. Instead, for the assimilator, I just have the one mixer because it's coming in mono, and then, I've switched the input to B2 for the snares and hats and stuff. I don't usually send kicks to effects. And then we're just going to need to add another patch cable. So we're coming out of CV14 on the expander and into C1 on the ER301. The switch for this one is going to be 0 to 5 volts because we're going to be able to send the assimilator sounds to mimeophone or reverb just like we can with the sample tracks. And then, we have CV control and, over that right there with all the assimilator CV control. Speaking of CV control, the CV control for the mimeophone and reverb is pretty simple. It's just going to be 6 outputs on the CV expander, going into 3 inputs on each module. So we'll patch that up. So on the mimeophone, we have the repeats, zones, and rate. And on the reverb, we have the size, tilt, and decay. So now we'll go down to the NerdSec and set up the tracks to control those parameters. Track 5, go to track assign first actually. Track 5, CV16, set, and then go in here, track setup, 1, 2, 3, and then 4, no, 9, 14, 10, 10. Oh no, that's right, yeah, okay, yeah, that's that. And now we have our effects control. Now we'll pull this patch and move on to the morphagene. Now, morphagene is what's going to receive everything from the ER301. To set this up, I use it in single repeat mode. I did another video on how to set that up, so you can find that if you need info. For the CV control, we're going to need control over the mix, the gene size, the vary speed, and the slide. Yeah. And then from there, we'll send the morphagene into the muscle, and the muscle will go into the HPL to go off into analog heat or, wherever I'm going to send it. Let's patch that up. Okay, so it is a little bit, you have to be careful. So the switches on the XOR16, depending on what you're doing with it, you need to be a little bit strategic about how you patch it, because it may be that, on one output you want 0 to 10, and another one you want -5 to +5. The problem is that each one of these switches is going to control both of the outlets there. So it's just something you kind of have to play around with and work out for yourself, depending on what you're doing. Now, we just got to go over to the NerdSec and set up the CV there. We're going to use track 6. Assign. CV16 set. Track setup. And we're going to go 7, 6, 4, and 12. Yeah, so that's that. The only other thing I would mention about the morphagene is their attenuators, both on the morphagene and, all the make noise stuff. Just pay attention to where your attenuators are in relation to the CV that you're sending them, and it can have an effect. One interesting thing you can do with that, though, is if you have everything set up and your patch is going along, just adjusting a few of the attenuators can, really switch everything up in an interesting way. Just make sure you remember where they are, so if you want, you can put it back. Alright, the only other thing I think we need to do is add a pitch control over the samplers. So we're going to use D1. I've said this before, but you don't actually have to gain if it's a volt per octave. It's already set. Now, we want 4 of them, so we should just be able to do stereo chain, track 2, enter, and now we'll go back over here, copy, and paste. The most important thing is as you go through and copy and paste these, you need to remember to change the CV inputs for each respective sampler. Not only the gate and the slice, the pitch will be the same for all 4 of them in my patch, but also for the effects. So, we'll go in here. This is our first sampler. This is the assimilator. We'll need to make, one for each sampler, one of these mixers, and then make sure that we change the VCA CV to whatever, particular one we're going to be using. Okay, so now we're going to patch the entire system up. We know where all the CV is going to be going, what it's going to be controlling, so we can make a pretty neat patch. A couple of tips would be to start with short runs first. This way, you can sort of use them as anchors. I know that, all of these CV outputs, 1, 2, 3, and 4, are going to be going 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I would do those first, and then, maybe the mod where they're going to be going here. And then we can use those as anchor points for the longer runs. So I would go short, then long, then medium, and then anything in between. Yeah. You can also use, even if it's a short run or a medium run, use a longer patch cable if you have one available, because then you can kind of use that to stitch up, where you have wires and cables and they're, all over the place. So, that's how the patch works. So, yeah, that's all I got. Alright, so to create the VariSpeed player, like we have in the ER301 on VCV rack, we're going to use a simplicitor. Alright, so let's load our sample with 120 slices in. Open. We're going to turn loop off, make sure that everything is selected. We'll come down here to grid and put this up at 120. Alright. The next thing we need is a delay. A trigger delay. It seems like a little bit more than a half a second seems to work the best. That's for the trigger. Make sure that you have the dry wet all the way up, otherwise you'll get two triggers. The next thing we need is a quantizer. There. Now, for whatever reason, we actually have to tune the quantizer a little bit. So let's bring our sequencer in here. And let's hook this up. Alright. Now, as we said before, this B note, as we said about not the chromatic sample slices that I had in here, but this is the glitch one. So every B note should be silent. So we know that. So let's put this in. Go to sample select. Let's go to the B note. This should be silent. But it's not. We go up a little more. There's our silent with a little bit of a transient. So what we need is an offset. We're going to plug this in there, this in here. And now let's go to our B note. Offset. There we go. So now, another silent, and I know it's not actually silent, but it's where I know it's supposed to be. That one's completely silent. Okay, so now we can select our slices. So far so good. Now on the ER301, because of the amount of CV control I have available, I actually control all of the vari-speed players pitch with one CV, but VCV rack is endless, so we don't have to worry about that. So we'll give it its own CV control for this pitch. Let's see what this sounds like. We're going to copy that voltage. Over here, right click. I'm going to paste it, enter. Let's bring on just to see if this is working the way we want it to. Get out of there. Bring out drum, kick. Put that into here. Tie that to that. See what that sounds like. This voltage. Alright, cool. So this is the exact same thing as I have in the ER301 for the sample player. I would have 4 of these, but still, it's the exact same thing. The biggest problem I've found with VCV Rack so far is actually the sequencing. So, there's not really anything that compares to NerdSec, almost to the point where I could almost see myself using the NerdSec to control VCV Rack over MIDI or something like that. Something about having all of the control in one spot is really valuable, actually, rather than having a bunch of sequencers everywhere. However, on the flip side, you again have unlimited space, so really you could just have, a bunch of marbles or something like that and have it a more probability-based system. But anyway, yeah, that's the Fairy Speed player, so let's move on to the effects routing. So now for the effects routing, we'll need the effects. So let's go delay. We use this one. I'm going to turn these right down. Somewhere in there. Link the feedback. Somewhere in there. Link the color there. Very important. Mix it 100%. Then we'll need a reverb. Turn the dry all the way down. We don't need that because we have a dry signal coming right here. Now, let's mix these. Left, right, left, right. And then send this to there. Okay. Now, what we want to do is the exact same thing that we have in the Eurorack. If we send it a negative voltage, we want to go, I'm using this knob over here on the Sec 3. If we send it a negative voltage, we want it to go to one effect, positive to another effect, and in the middle to neither. Left, right, left, right. And then we're going to take a copy of the sampler 2 times. Now, let's bring a scope in. Word. What we're going to do is invert this, send it here, and then send the dry to here. Let's see if this works. Yes. So you can see the 2 lines. Essentially, in the middle, both VCAs for either effect are closed. If we go negative, one of them is opening up a little bit more, as in one side, so a stereo pair. And the other one is essentially just getting more quiet over time, so basically nothing's happening. Let's see if this works. We'll mute the dry. There's the reverb. There. So, that's essentially the same thing as, the Eurorack. just, again, there would be 4 of these in the Eurorack, so we would sort of just continue to repeat this exact same thing over and over again. I'm not gonna do an assimilator version in VCV Rack. It just doesn't seem necessary. It's fairly straightforward how I'm using the assimilator. The only thing you would add to, whatever drum kit you decided to add, you would do this same sort of thing with the inverted, thing here to send it to the effect. So, the last thing we need to replicate is the morphagene. So to replicate the morphagene, we're actually going to use a simplicitor again. Works perfectly. Come on. There. And then we need a trigger. Something like that. We need another setup like this. And a sequencer. So we'll send this here. And this here. Let's see if this works. Yeah. So, that's a little less control. You could add some more things than what I have set up, but largely it's the exact same thing. Just the whole mix being pumped into what, this would basically be like the morphagene, and having control over, when it all gets glitched out or doesn't. So, yeah, that's how you could rebuild the same Eurorack again. You would just have to copy a few of these and things like that. So, yeah.